Have you ever walked into a friend's house, glanced at their living room wall and thought, "Whoa, when did TVs start disappearing?" One minute you're admiring what looks like a sleek piece of modern art, and the next you realize it's actually their television, blending into the wall like it belongs there. That quiet moment of surprise, that split second where technology feels almost magical, is something many of us have experienced without really stopping to question it. Modern TVs have become unbelievably thin, almost unreal compared to what we grew up with. And today we will explore why modern televisions look so much thinner than before, and how advances in technology made that transformation possible, right here on History of Simple Things. Way back when, televisions were big, boxy things that practically doubled as furniture. People used to joke that if you ever needed a side table, you could just prop your mug on top of the TV. No coaster needed. That era was dominated by cathode ray tube technology, or CRT for short. These TVs had deep backs because they literally needed room to fire electrons at a screen. It was physics, not fashion. You wanted a bigger screen? Great. That just meant an even deeper TV. These beasts were heavy, chunky, and impossible to silently glide into a sleek modern home decor. Then came the revolution: flat panel displays. First, plasma screens showed the world that television didn't need a deep profile to work. Soon after, LCD, liquid crystal display, and later LED, light-emitting diode technologies leapt into the mainstream. All of a sudden, screens got lighter, flatter, and way more stylish. The shift wasn't instant, but once it happened, there was no turning back. So what's the secret sauce that turned TVs from bloated boxes into wafer-thin slabs that look like they might float off the wall? The answer is a combination of smarter engineering, advancements in display tech, thinner materials, and a relentless pursuit of more screen and less bulk. It's not just about aesthetics, although let's be honest, sleek TVs are insanely satisfying to stare at. First off, let's talk about what actually takes up space inside a TV. In old CRT models, the depth was dictated by the electron gun, and the long path electrons had to travel to light up the screen. In flat panels, the depth became mostly about layers: the glass or plastic face, the panel itself, the backlight, and the circuit boards. For a long time, engineers focused on upgrading the panel, but the backlight assembly stayed relatively thick. That started to change with the adoption of LED backlighting, which is not only thinner but more energy efficient than older fluorescent systems. LED backlights allowed manufacturers to shave off centimeters, and soon millimeters, from the rear of TVs. But that was just step one. Around the same time, advances in LCD panel manufacturing enabled the actual display layer to become significantly thinner without compromising brightness or color. Layers that once had to be robust to account for limitations in materials were replaced with wafer-thin films that do more with less. Then came OLED, the real game changer. Unlike LCD screens that need a separate backlight, OLED pixels produce their own light. Imagine each tiny dot on the screen saying, "I got this." That eliminates the entire backlight assembly, which was a major contributor to thickness. The result? Displays that are paper-thin, bendy, and astonishingly light. Put that on a wall, and suddenly your living room feels like a designer showroom. Technology aside, another huge push toward thinness came from consumer expectations and market competition. People don't just want a TV that looks great from the front. They want one that looks good from every angle. Your TV isn't just a device, it's part of your living space. Manufacturers realize that a thinner TV reads as premium, modern, and high-tech, and once one brand does it, every other brand feels the pressure to keep up. But wait, there's even more to the story. Aesthetics aren't the only reason brands want thinner TVs. A slim screen also improves practicality. A thinner TV sits closer to the wall, making it easier to mount and less likely to cast weird shadows. It reduces glare in certain lighting conditions and allows designers to experiment with unique form factors, curved screens, super-wide displays, and nearly bezel-less edges that make the image look infinite. Let's pause and imagine for a second. In the early 2000s, most of us had bulky TVs that were thicker than a loaf of bread. Fast forward not even 2 decades, and here we are with screens so thin you jokingly wonder if they might snap if you breathe on them too hard. Yet despite being paper thin, these modern TVs pack in insanely powerful processors, smart OS platforms, and support for HDR formats that bring cinematic visuals into our homes. It's an incredible convergence of form and function. Of course, super-thin designs don't come without compromise. As TVs get thinner, manufacturers have to get creative with audio. Traditional speakers need depth to produce rich bass, and thin TVs simply can't house them well. That's why most flat, ultra-slim TVs pair with soundbars or external audio systems. Some brands now embed clever down-firing or side-firing speakers, but it's still generally not as robust as deeper speaker enclosures. So, while your TV may look like a slice of glass, the booming audio usually comes from a separate bar below. So next time you walk into a room, glance at that impossibly thin rectangle glowing softly in the corner and smile, because you're looking at a piece of tech history. From CRT bricks to featherlight marvels, television design has sprinted through decades of innovation. And while the story's not over yet, one thing's clear. We've learned to make screens that don't just show life, they fit beautifully into it. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.